Let's get to it. Trevor Lawrence, the freshman quarterback for Clemson, was sensational. 20 for 32, 347 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Obviously, going into the game, Tua Tagovailoa. I know I said it crazy. Yeah,
just
Tua. I know, but it's it's the reporter in me, the first reference.
Right. And you feel like I should get it right. He has a name, and
out of respect, but I'll work on that.
Just Tua.
But anyway, Tua was the guy going in, and Trevor Lawrence just totally outshined him. And I mean, Tua threw 2 interceptions, one of them a pick 6. They really got Clemson going. And so this has sparked discussion, Rob Parker, on whether or not freshmen, kids out of high school, should be able to go straight to the NFL. Because we heard all season, and I think it was ridiculous, that even former Alabama players, current NFL guys, were saying that Alabama could win some games in the NFL.
Not this year. Right? I don't know where they came up with that.
I mean, one guy, I can't remember, I read the article a little while ago, was saying that he thinks they could make the playoffs. I don't think they're thinking that now. But anyway, against this team that many thought might be the greatest college football team ever, a freshman, Trevor Lawrence, goes buck wild. And a lot of people are looking at the fact that he has to spend, according to the rules, the next 2 years in college before he can go to the NFL and get paid. A lot of people think that's wrong, a travesty, whatever you want to call it. And the truth of the matter is, it was reported today, is that it's not the NCAA's rule, but it's the NFL Players Association rule. They keep players in college at least 3 years before they're eligible to draft them, so that a lot of their players, the average lifespan of an NFL player in the league is 3.5 to 4 years.
Right.
And so a lot of players, knowing that their window is that small, don't want to let the younger guys in and have a guy who's not as good as them yet, but has greater potential, take a roster spot from them. And I got to admit, I get some of that. I'm all for the free market. If you're good enough, then you should be able to play. But I do understand where the NFL players are coming from.
I don't understand it at all, because it's supposed to be about competition, right? So the strongest guys make the team, and the guys who aren't that good don't make the team. And
what if the guy's not as strong as me, but you can see in 2 years he's going to be better than me. But right now, I'll wipe the floor with him.
They cut players all the time because of money. They're cap casualties. So you're not stopping owners from doing it, getting rid of people over money. It's a selfish way to look at it. Sports is the only place that penalizes prodigies. You're telling me that LeBron James shouldn't have been playing in the NBA at 18?
Well, he was.
No, but I'm saying, but according to the NFL Players Association, he wouldn't have been able to play if those guys, those knuckleheads, were in charge of the NBA. That's my point. Younger people, if you're a classic pianist, and you can and you're this great prodigy, they don't stop you from playing at Carnegie Hall, Chris, at 13 years old. You know what they do? They embrace you. They put you out there, and you have God-given talent.
For entertainment in general.
You don't stop.
Michael Jackson was how old?
Yes. He was a star. He was the front man of the Jacksons.
You see actors, actresses. And let's keep it real. Even in sports, you see in tennis, you see young people.
Thank you.
It tends to be the sports, football and basketball, dominated by African Americans.
Absolutely.
Hockey, you can get in young.
Steve
Baseball,
Eisenman,
if you're good enough,
for the Red
you can get
Wings
in young.
was in the NHL at 18. He was 18 years old and in the NHL. My point is that it's wrong, and we need to stop stopping people if they're good enough and talented enough. You're okay to send give an 18-year-old a rifle and say, go abroad and fight. But you can't play a football game? Come on, man. That makes no sense. And if you're not good enough or not athletically good enough or physically good enough, don't draft them. Don't draft the kid. The onus isn't on the kid. The onus is on the general manager.
I agree with you,
And now, hold on. Let me say this. Don't forget, Doogie Howser was a young kid. He was a doctor, wasn't he?
That was what your line? That was your line? You should have quit while you were ahead. Man. Thank you, Iowa Sam.
Thank you.
You were rolling until you brought up you had to go one step too far.
But let me tell you this. I did look it up.
I was with you.
Youngest doctor in the United States? How old?
I have no idea.
Youngest doctor in the United States. Anybody know? 17 years old. That's the youngest doctor in the history of the United States. So my point, and then I threw out the other one, all-time baseball pitcher, Joe Nuxhall pitched for the Cincinnati Reds. He was 15.
But that was because a lot of the players were in World War II.
No,
right?
there's no doubt. But he pitched. They didn't say, we can't pitch him, he's 15. He was good enough, they gave him a chance. That's all I'm saying. Stop stopping people based on no real reason other than selfish motives. If a guy is talented, he should have the opportunity. If he's not good enough, he shouldn't get the opportunity.
I think some of it, Rob, is also just a product of our system in America. Our sports, particularly football, basketball, baseball, are tied to – they're getting away from it now, basketball at least with AAU, but they're tied to our educational system.
Not in baseball. You go to the minor leagues.
No, but high school.
No, but that's
you're still tied through. But that's – I mean, Larry Bird told me the day after LeBron James' first NBA game, Larry Bird told me LeBron James is the only player he ever saw who, after his junior year of high school,
was ready,
could have been in the NBA. So my point is, we're talking about kids, instead of going to college, being in the NBA. What about that rare kid every blue moon who's 16 who's good enough to play in the NBA?
I wouldn't.
I'm just saying the reason we don't deal with that is because our sports system has been tied, unlike European basketball, it's tied to our educational system. We tend to go in those tiers.
I don't have a problem with even if a kid was really that great, and he was 16 and he finished his education with homeschooling.
What if he
didn't
finish his education?
He doesn't have to finish it.
So you be fine with him going to the NBA?
College education. I'm for education. I always will say that. I have 2 degrees. I got accepted for a PhD. I'm all about education.
Right.
But everybody doesn't have to go to school, and everybody's not going to go to school. So I'm open to that, and I understand it. Their God-given talent might just be to play basketball and not to get a college degree or not to finish high school. It doesn't mean you're the worst person in the world because you don't have a degree.
Not at all.
And there's a lot of good people who have done a lot of good things without a piece of paper. So I'm not all caught up on that. Would I like to see everybody at least get a high school diploma? I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I wouldn't make that the reason why I would stop a prodigy from having an opportunity to do something.
Well, I'm
talking about prodigy.
Like I said, I think it should be free market. If the person's good enough, if they're good enough that Nike wants to give them a deal, then let them get the deal at 17. That's how I look at it. Free market system. Football has been, in my mind, it's a little different. Now, I look at Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, physically, he'll get a little bit bigger in terms of his body. You know, he's not going to grow anymore, but he doesn't need to. But he'll get a little bigger in terms of his body. But for the most, I don't look at him and say physically he wouldn't be ready. Most cases in football, I've thought there's no way a kid can come out of high school and play in the NFL. I mean, it would literally be dangerous.
But that would be on, that to me, that would be on, that's the excuse that they've always used. Oh, their bodies.
I don't even know that they use that as an excuse. I'm just saying, looking at it and having played football and knowing, you know.
I've heard players, but there's always an exception to the rule.
Yeah, there's a few exceptions here and there.
And this is what we're talking about. I want you to make it very clear. I'm not talking about any player.
But you know what happens is if they change the rule, and again, I'm for that.
Don't draft them.
But a lot of kids would declare themselves.
Fine. And they don't get.
We saw it in the NBA.
Don't get drafted.
Guys that aren't close to being ready.
And they shouldn't be drafted. And that's and Chris, it's okay to make a mistake. You decide.
And they should be allowed to go back to college.
Absolutely.
Or go to college. That's the thing.
Why is there a penalty?
Right. There's no penalty in declaring if I don't get drafted and I can still go to college.
I tried. It didn't work out. Why is there a penalty? That was, again, to scare you from making that attempt. So they would scare you like, oh, but you can't come back here. Oh, my God. No.
Well, and it was also in line with the amateur rules, and I'm not saying it's not
It's
garbage,
but it's all self-serving.
But all that is
Self-serving.
Yeah.